Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Lakoff, and welcome to the Do's and Don'ts for Mainstream Blockchain Applications. On this panel, we have Stephen from Taraxa and Jude from Jointer. Brief introduction about me. I'm the host of the Alt Asset Allocation podcast and a startup investor and advisor. Mainstream blockchain adoption. We have a long ways to go. Before we get started, let's start off with a little intros. Let's start with you, Stephen, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen. I'm the founder of the Taraxa project. We are, in addition to building a layer one ledger, we're also building this application called Marinate, which makes handshake business agreements highly verifiable, helping businesses minimize, confusion, disputes, and the risk and costs that come with them, all without changing their current usage behaviors.
Awesome. Thank you. Jude?
Hey, everybody. My name is Jude Regev. I am the founder and the CEO of Jointer. Jointer is basically an alternative to syndication. What this means is that usually when you're thinking of an investment, your investment is not really decentralized. Even if you're investing in startup or investing in decentralized startup, your investment is still in position of a risk, what the startup will be or how successful it will be. So what we created is basically a new way how to bridge the gap between the old world investor, like accredited investor, to the crypto investor, and bring the money from the old world to the new world and make a safe bridge between the massive into the real estate, to venture capital, to student loan, to insurance loan. So it's a new way how to drive money to the massive, from the massive to the crypto market and vice versa.
Awesome. Well, excited to have both of you on, and this is a nice balance between the two, financial and non-financial. So I'd like to start off by asking both of you, what does mainstream blockchain adoption look like?
Yeah, I can go first. So from my point of view, mainstream adoption meaning that there is no adoption, which means public do not even aware that something happened. It's like, imagine that you have electricity, right? You don't care what's going on behind the scene. You just want to get electricity, right? So the point is that the public is not into being an investment, right? Investors, they're not here to be a speculator. If you think about it, when the public puts money in the bank, the only reason that to put money in the bank is because they want to protect the money from themselves, because they have the self-trigger that's spending money all day long. So they want to keep it, even if they will get zero return. They just want to keep it from themselves. But by doing it, they want to know that there is stability. They want to know that the money is protected. Even government give insurance $250,000 to make him safe or feel safe about it. If they can get some kind of return that can beat inflation, which most of the time is not happening, so be it. They will be happy with that. But the main point is that they're not here to make money. They're here just to put some money in the side every time. And the best way for them to do it is not actively. What they do usually is take it from the 401k or from the salary or pension. So they like to see it at the end of the road, but they don't want on daily basis make a decision, oh, I will move $100. They want it to be automatically, and they want to wake up in age 60 or 70 and have enough money to survive. This is the massive. Now, the money, where the money go? Is go to institutional. Now, maybe institutional today is not the institution that will be tomorrow, because maybe tomorrow they will be more efficient, more decentralized, more blockchain-based, but it's still the same concept. No institutional will take the public money and will put it in a place that it can be lost. Otherwise, the public will not drive the money to there. So from my point of view, mass adoption meaning that the public gets what it's looking for in the better way or in alternative way without even notice that it's happening, and you're happy from the end result, and it's not part of the process. It's us that need to go to the massive and not the massive that need to come to us. That's massive adoption for me.
Interesting. Thank you. Stephen?
Yeah, sure. I think yeah, I do agree with that. Although I probably have a slightly broader view of this, which is that, to me, blockchain is an infrastructure technology, right? So I do agree that mainstream adoption would have occurred when it has become an integral part of the internet stack, right? So people who are using it, there are tons of people using it without knowing that they're using it, right? They don't know anything about blockchain. They don't know anything about Bitcoin. The application they use most likely have nothing to do with finance, right? It just doesn't matter to them, right? But they do understand the benefits, that my data is not going to get lost, that no one can, sort of alter the data that's been anchored into the back end. I mean, there are just these sort of benefits, right, that they're able to just naturally expect. That, of course, right, records are immutable, right? So these are just sort of inherent benefits that end users will be able to enjoy without knowing anything about blockchain, right? It's just an integral part of the API. I think right now, I mean, we've seen very, very incredible technical, social, and economic innovations that have come out of this blockchain space. But quite frankly, it's still very, very, I think, circumscribed and restricted within the world of people who actually hold coins, and largely to people who are very interested in finance. Finance, don't get me wrong, great application for blockchain technology, but it is just one of many industry verticals in the world, right? So I think that, probably I would say that there are tens of millions of people in the world that currently are aware of this technology and aware of the benefits. That's a lot, from a few years ago, but, in a larger scheme of things, it's still a tiny drop in the bucket, right? So I think, we can do better, and I think we will do better going forward.
Absolutely, and I completely agree that eventually this will just be a back end sort of thing and it's just kind of integrated in a lot of the different things, non-financial as well, that we're dealing with. So Stephen, I'd like to start with you on this next one, and we talked about it. I mean, it's coming, right? But what right now is the biggest hurdle from where we are now to getting to this mainstream adoption?
Yeah, I think there's probably some sort of common sort of best practices that I see, and some common mistakes that I think people are making, and it's natural, right? This is a new space. People are doing trial and error. So I think the first thing I see is that, number one, I think a lot of applications are being built to be decentralized for decentralized sake, right? People just want, get rid of the man, let's make everything decentralized. But really, there are lots of very natural advantages to centralized systems. So, they're fast, they have clear legal responsibilities, in local jurisdictions. So I think what you really need to do is figure out, what are the advantages and disadvantages of both, right? So centralized systems are performant, but they can cheat, right? Decentralized systems, should be used to keep centralized systems from cheating. As long as you can do that, I think you have an excellent balance of centralized and decentralized systems. So that's the first lesson, right? Use decentralized system not to replace, but to bolster centralized systems. Right? I think the second thing is that there's sort of this misconception that hey, blockchain is the truth, right? Like we've seen these books out there like Truth Machine. Everything on blockchain is absolutely true. Well, not really. It's really absolutely true if the data is generated entirely from the blockchain. So if you have a cryptocurrency, then yeah, it is guaranteed to be true. But the vast majority of the world's data, 99.99 whatever percent, it's generated off chain. You don't get that guarantee. But what you do get is that you get the guarantee of provenance, which means where data comes from, and immutability, which means that it's tamper-proof, right? And these two guarantees actually can come together and create this application or functionality of making data auditable, right? That is a huge, huge functionality. And I don't think it's really, I think it's under leveraged. I think a lot of startups are realizing that this is a very, very widely applicable functionality. But I like to see that, hey, let's sort of move away from sort of everything must be absolutely true on the blockchain, but focus more on the auditability of this technology, right? And I think the third one I think is really sort of a big one. Is sort of, blockchain is still very complex, right? So you gotta figure out a way to hide that complexity, right, away from the end user, right? So often I often muse to myself and my friends, we have these great dApps, on these various blockchains, and they're gambling apps, right? So and they attract like 100 users on a daily basis. So when you have a casino, right, gambling that's only attracting 100 people a day worldwide, there's something wrong here, right? There's something wrong here. And what's wrong is simply that, look, it's the barrier to entry is too high. People need to get wallets, they need to be sure to understand that you can't lose your private key. There's just a lot of complexity that are coming in. So for the end user, you gotta hide that complexity. If it's complex, they're not gonna start using it, right? So you gotta strike the right balance to say, let's make some small trade-offs to make sure that the end user will have a very, very user-friendly experience for the end user. And this is especially true for business users, right? They don't have time to sort of, deal with any sort of adoption risk to their existing businesses.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I often tell people that the killer use case of blockchain is very unsexy. It's something like accounting, right? It's a very, very good use case of it. How about you, Jude? What do you think?
Yeah,
is the
so
biggest
I have
hurdle?
a very sharp perspective for that. So from my point of view, if we really want to change the game, we cannot play a game without the rules. I mean, can you imagine if people in the sea, there is no rules? What are you getting? You get the pirates that rip you off, right? I'm sick of all those disgusting fruit stuff that copy from each other, and people think that it's legit, and then they do exit, scam. I even blaming the blockchain developers that allow someone to build the same symbol. Everybody can call himself something like something else. I mean, can you imagine yourself that I will have the domain Amazon.com and people will come to me and buy, but I'm a fraud Amazon, right? So we need to have rules. And if somebody doesn't like rules, the rules designed to protect us from other people that want to do harm, right? So if someone wants to take our money, we need to protect ourselves. So as a community, we need to think what else we can do in order to make it better. The fact that BitMax and all other people thinking that they can break the rules, what do you think it's going to do next? It's going to help us? Of course not. It's going to hurt us. Now somebody somewhere going to think what else we can do in order to shut down this animal that take other people's money, instead of think with us how to do that better. So all I'm saying is when somebody developing something, you need to think about how it's going to be abused. And all those copycats, right, that just copy from each other and then hiding behind cartoon stuff, right, and they don't even say their name. If they had a decentralized, completely, absolutely decentralized system, I can agree that nobody cares. But the fact is, I want to raise here a few issues when it comes to DeFi. Most of the DeFi projects out there right now, they are big Fonzie, right? Because how DeFi really works, there is two pools that there is tokens against money. So what that means is that when somebody adding money to the pool and takes token out, the value of the token going up, right? So in other words, the first people that rushing in, they're the one that buying on the ground floor. And when other people come in later, they are the first one that can cash out and leave everybody with 80% drop. Now, this is kind of a pump and dump scam, right? Not talking about the developer that put the first money in and they get the relay. The relay token is the ownership on the pool. And they can anytime squeeze that relay token inside of the pool and take all the money out. And not talking about the fact that you have a smart contract and people say, you know what, I will not do a smart contract with a private key. I will do government voting. Yeah, for God's sake, nobody going to have a community overnight. It will take 1 month, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 year until you will have really power that will balance each other. So what that means, someone in the meantime can vote whatever you like to change whatever you like anytime that you like. So the point is that in order to fix all those stuff, people need, and by the way, a word about all those cartoon people that think that they are behind cartoon, right? If you are not Satoshi Nakamoto that didn't touch the money, somebody will find you and hunt you down. You cannot trick people, you cannot steal other people's money and think you can somehow cash it out in other door and spend it in Hawaii. It doesn't work like that. You will be fine, right? And what I want to do as a suggestion, I want to tell to people, if you're building a smart contract, and forget about for a second about private key and forget about voting, build a smart contract in a way that even you, which the private key cannot change it, right? There is no privileged owner whatsoever. So nobody can come in the back door and change the game. And if you open a pool in Uniswap or other places, fine, but take the relay token that you're receiving and send it to deadlock address, burn it, so you will never be able to engage with the fund and steal other people's money. It's unfair, it's shame. I'm ashamed of those people that you know, as a PR, all the PR people from CoinDesk and all other people that's running to talk about this fruit and that swap fruit, and they give them the legitimate for the other people. That's not fair for other people that work very hard in order to make this successful and change the game. And not only that, you need to think about what else you can do, right? Take it a step forward. Do some kind like a downside protection to protect people. Do something like long-term lockup. For example, our team, investor, co-founder, employee, provider, name it. We have funds that lock behind door for 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. You understand what I'm saying? 10 years, right? So you cannot, we don't even have an access to the Uniswap or to the PancakeSwap or to the other traditional market because we locked ourselves from engaging with this stuff. We open a pool and we burn our relay token. So all I'm saying is that when you build something, if you're here just to make a buck, it's better for you not to be here at all because you're hurting everybody else. But if you want to change the game, and you know what, I'm a fan of free world, right? But I don't think it's fair that someone break a sweat for years to build something and somebody copy that. You want to copy that? Fine, make it better, take it to the next level. Why you copy the same thing, change the domain and call it in the same name, just moving the dot or the comma to the right, to the left and put the logo upside down, just changing from red to blue, blue to red, and driving people, innocent people that doesn't know what is behind it. They don't have the skills to read smart contract. It's absolutely unfair to do all those stuff to people, right? And I think we have responsibility not to give them the stage, not as a PR, not as a media, not as a blockchain. I think even the blockchain need to lock from people to open the same symbol so people cannot have the same symbol, right? We need to help each other to prevent those scammers.
Okay. So it sounds like, I mean, usability is a big one, and then policing and filtering some of these like non-value add projects is another massive hurdle. I'm curious for each of your thoughts, and maybe we start with you, Stephen, but I mean, are there any examples of a mainstream blockchain application that you can think of? And what does this look like? And in your opinion, you know, what contributed to their success in this area?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so shameless plug here. I do think Marinade is it hasn't reached mainstream yet, but it's targeting that direction. So I encourage everyone to check it out. But there's a project that I respect a lot. I think it's probably based in Southern California. It's called TruePic. I think a lot of people who are in this space probably knows about them. They're very interesting, right? So they started with this very simple idea, which is that, hey, let's anchor images into the blockchain to make sure that they are traceable and verifiable, right? Very simple concept. How do you commercialize it, right? I mean, this goes to how do you get mainstream adoption, right? So they're very, very practical, right? They're very practical. And today, I think they found a very solid foothold within the insurance industry, really helping them to validate photographic evidence during the claim processing progress. So it's a very solid value proposition, right? Instead of sending an adjuster, fly them out to some place and check things out, make sure that they're real, that's hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars of cost, right? You know, you take a picture, fully verify it, anchor that into the blockchain, and you're done. I mean, that's like a tiny fraction of the cost. So that makes a lot of sense, right? So, but of course, in order to do that, blockchain itself, decentralization itself is not really enough, right? It's not enough. So they built a centralized system with functionalities that do fraud prevention and fraud detection, right? Geolocation, etc., really to deliver a full stack solution, right? And they've struck an excellent balance, I think, of marrying the centralized and decentralized technologies and systems, and the end user has no idea that they're using blockchain, right? They just know that they're getting all these great benefits. So I think this is really a interesting example, right, of a company that has, they've been around for a while. I think at least 3 to 4 years, right? So they've been around for a while. They started out with a very simple decentralized concept, slowly evolved it, very practical. I think they fit all these principles that I mentioned before and built a very successful business, targeting customers who don't know or care about blockchain. They just want the benefits, right? So I think that's an excellent example. I'm sure there are more out there, but like I said, overall, I think we're still early in the space, and that's why I can't just rattle off like 20 companies off the top of my head. These are rare gems. So.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, the key there is that they're using blockchain in a way that it's kind of hidden from the average user, and the application still works seamlessly without knowing that it's blockchain, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Jude, what about you? Do you have any examples of mainstream blockchain applications, and what contributed to their success?
So, okay, so again, when it comes to mainstream, if you're thinking about the mainstream using stuff that other people using, like the mainstream kind of do validation by the public. So if everybody thinking that this is a good company, like a T-Mobile or AT&T, right? So suddenly people start to come into that. So the mainstream is not really first adopter. It's not really a smart person because he's a day-to-day job worker that doesn't have the time to do research. And when you see the mainstream, if you can imagine to yourself the picture in the news, hey, the stock market is going up. What do you think happened? The mainstream rushing in, but what do you think going on really? What's going on is all the whales rushing out, right? They're already gone. So the thing is that the mainstream come when it's always too late, and the mainstream is the one that pay the price. So right now we don't have really mainstream adoption. We don't really have mainstream people that coming in because in order to do that, they need to do it without to be sophisticated. And in order to get into the blockchain right now, you need to be sophisticated. Even to buy crypto in some different countries, you need to spend hours in order to fill forms and apply, and your credit card being failed and failed again because the bank do not allow you to process payment for that provider. I mean, mainstream do not have time for that. They barely have a time in the supermarket, you know, to put bags in the plastic, and they need the help for that too, right? So they're busy like a bees. They work all day long in order to survive. So you cannot say today that you have a successful tools or successful app that brought the mainstream. The only thing that you can say is that the moment that the world will go into it, the moment that China, United States, or any top 5 of the 5 states, 5 countries will embrace digital money, the moment that that will happen, and the bank will allow you to have it without KYC, without filling form, you're just going to have it in your bank account instantly, right? Because the bank will issue that for you. The moment that that will happen, people will use digital money, but they will not even aware that it's happening. Because think about it, when you pay in the super with your credit card, you basically pay with digital money. The only difference is not on the blockchain ledger, it's on their private server ledger, right? That's the only difference. People are already using digital money. So if you can replace the digital money from unsafe point of failure point of view, right, to something more safe, like a blockchain, user will not even know that it's happening. They don't even care if it's happening. All they want to know is that they have enough money to survive in order to live, let alone when they're going to, end of the day, finish their job and be 65. That's all they care about. And they pay the mortgage on a daily basis and buy food. That's it. So no, you don't really have mass adoption over here. All you have here is speculative people that try to make a buck, and it's fine. As long that you don't scam them, as long that you do that in the right way. What we do with Jointer, by the way, we try to, in a very interesting way, we try to bring the crypto market, and we try to bring the traditional commercial real estate investor, like institutional or accredited investor, in a way that there is a symbiosis between them, which means the crypto market will enjoy from something that there is a back behind it without even having security. So it's not really a security for them, but in the back door, it's protected. And the traditional market will enjoy from cash flow, from liquidity, because think about it, when you invest in the traditional market, you don't really have liquidity, right? Usually with good assets, you have a term long locked money, like 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. So if we took those two markets in a very innovative way, and we build a symbiosis between them, we allow to one to have the security, and we allow the other to have the liquidity. And that's how we believe we'll be able to drive a lot of money into the industry and help those projects like real estate projects, startup projects, mortgage projects, even maybe movies. You know, people syndicate money to movie in Hollywood. I don't know what's going to happen with the COVID-19, that every industry been damaged, all the industry been damaged, but probably they will need a lot of money right now, right? So this is exactly what we're doing. We basically build a safe gateway from the old money market into the market, and we're empowering the crypto market. By the way, I didn't mention that, but it will be interesting to see day by day, because I really believe that if you show evidence is stronger than spread surprises and say, hey, I will be, or my coin will be, stuff like that, right? So I think if you will follow Jointer, you will see that Jointer been able to, besides generating 4,000% to investors, you will be able to see that the way the Jointer been created is a 52 smart contract, sophisticated smart contract that protecting the value of the coin from going down by reacting that, producing that. So it's very interesting to see how the value cannot go down. And I cannot say the word there is risk-free, because there is no risk-free in the world. But what we created is very interesting. Usually you always hear the word high risk, high return. We've been able to reduce the risk, but keep return high. That's what we've been able to do, right? So that's what I'm thinking. And one more thing, I think people need to be open to new blockchain. I know Ethereum here, Ethereum there, Ethereum here. Stop with Ethereum. I mean, who cares, T-Mobile or AT&T, as long as you have a cell phone, eventually everybody talking with everybody. We are one step away from engaging between all the network. So don't build stuff on network that cannot speed up or cannot be effective from cost point of view. It's a shame that DeFi become to be for rich people. If you don't have $1,000 in your pocket, you cannot really play. There is a lot of countries that is not open for them. So we moved to Binance Smart Chain, but there is other network. So I think people need to explore that.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that we're definitely not there yet. And so perhaps a good pivot for the last question. I'll give it to you, Stephen. But currently, blockchain adoption, blockchain applications have a very financial focused approach, and this is fine. But what other areas do you see that are ripe for adoption, and why? And just a time check, we have about a minute.
Yeah, sure. I mean, going back to say, I think that the data anchoring, enabling an audit trail, I think that is a huge, and I would say hugely overlooked functionality of blockchain that is purely non-financial, right? So just at a macro level, everything in the world today is about being faster, cheaper, better, and that puts a lot of stress on the way that people communicate, on the way that people work. Technologies that we push out today, things like AI, things like automation, they make things go faster, but they don't necessarily solve the trust problem, right? The trust problem is what is going to ultimately slow us down. As I was talking about before, that's what is going to take a lot of time and effort in terms of coordination, in terms of auditing. So this is a huge overlooked opportunity here, right? So if we can actually build this data anchoring capability to capture all kinds of operational data and business data, we can get rid of the need to audit things and to question things. We can cut down on confusion, coordination costs, and this is going to allow our civilization basically to scale much faster. I think that is like the holy grail to me, right? For decentralizations, how can we coordinate with each other, with a lot more trust, right? Less friction in coordination, right? More trust.
Awesome.
I think that's what's really the big opportunity. Yeah.
Completely.
I will just say
that's our
thing.
time, guys.
The future is no trust.
Thank you so much for
You don't
tuning
need
in. Sorry, I think we get cut off right away. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, they're cutting out right on the time.